Hello, my name is Matthew, and this morning I read Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. I read a reprint of the first edition, the 1855 edition, and um, Leaves of Grass is it's a collection of poetry um, describing um, the everyday life of America in the mid 19th century, and it, simultaneously it's both a panoramic view of the world that Walt Whitman lived in, and then also an incredibly uh, personal uh, perspective of that time that Walt Whitman is telling you about. So it's full of personal insights and these universal ideas or truths that you can think about. And it, in many respects, reminded me of um, other works or books of poetry that um, tell you about the everyday life um, of a certain time. So recently, I've been reading the satires of Horace, where you get to see what it was like to live in ancient Rome. Um, there are many parts that reminded me of Virgil's poem, um, his poem of the Earth. I can't remember the title of it. Um, and in some ways, Wordsworth, where you kind of have this window to see what it was like to be alive at those times. And this is, to me, another one of those kinds of books. Um, and one of the reasons I was so moved reading this today is there was something special that happened that is unique to my reading life, and that is instead of reading Horace and feeling like I'm being transported back to ancient Rome, um, or walking around the Lake District with Wordsworth. Instead, it felt as if Walt Whitman came to me. This is a book of poetry that, as you're reading it, you become closer and closer to the author, to the poet. And there was a moment where it felt as if Walt Whitman was speaking directly to me. This was written for me to read, for anybody to read, but there's a magical quality that came through, that really special spark that um, a lot of readers look for, and if you've felt that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Where you are having a real deep connection with not only someone else but their mind. They're um, telling you their thoughts. It's truly incredible. Um, what else do I want to say? The way that he describes the America at the time and the world at the time, and the sense of um, promise and hope, the optimism that he has um, in a young nation, and he looks forward in time and imagines America as this nation of poets, artists, and philosophers, um, and also the caution he talks to. Um, talks about the population and how everybody is important. There's nothing special about being the president or um, having some official or someone elected in office or anything like that. He you know he says you have value, and he asks you, um, do you value yourself less than you should? He says, why? What have you thought of yourself? Is it you then that thought yourself less? Is it you that thought the president greater than you, or the rich better off than you, or the educated wiser than you, because you are greasy or pimpled, or that you was once drunk, or a thief, or diseased, or rheumatic, or a prostitute? Or are you so now? Or from frivolity or impotence, or that you are no scholar and never saw your name in print, do you give in that you are any less immortal? Such a way of like speaking to you and talking about um, the real people that you interact with, and also removing so many of the distractions and static in life, and coming down to um, kind of real truths that you can ask yourself at any point in time. That's what one of the reasons that this little book of poetry really is so amazing is that um, it, a lot of books are like this, but it's no less relevant because he's speaking to a person. He says, "Are you any less immortal?" Let's see. Anyway, I was really moved by this book of poetry. Um, the last thing that I'll say is he wrote this when he was 36 years old, or published it when he was 36 years old. So he either wrote them at 36 or younger. And I'm 36 years old. So that there's sort of a very strange connection to have, that if we were speaking together, we would be of the same age at a table. And one of the things that anyone that tries to tell a story realizes very quickly is how hard it is to speak the truth in a very real way, to just speak truthfully without any pretense or distraction. And I've felt that reading this. I'm interested to get later editions and to see how the book has grown. But this is going to be a book that I put by my bedside, and I will be returning to it quite often, either before I go to bed or just as I get ready for the day. So let me know if you've read Leaves of Grass or read Walt Whitman. Please let me know what you think, and thank you for watching. Bye.